Welcome back, Big Orange fans. We're continuing our look into the team and the position groups heading into spring practice. And today we're tripling up on it. We're hitting the quarterbacks, which should be a fairly short segment, followed by our tight ends and our special teams.
That's right.
So, Bob, let's start off with the Nico. That's where it all starts, right?
Oh, yeah.
Quarterback position.
Yeah.
And we'll get into the backups, but let's just start off with the man.
Oh, yeah. Nico had a pretty good year last year for the most part. I'm not sure if he quite met the super high expectations that most Tennessee fans.
It would have been hard to.
Yeah, and then, I'm right there with them. Yeah, it was probably somewhat. Some of the expectations probably unrealistic, probably some of them, but you know, he doesn't need to make a big jump, and I expect a big jump. You look at the history of Heupel. Um, the quarterback's second year starting under Heupel makes a fairly large jump, and I think that's probably accurate for most quarterbacks playing in a system their second year. But it seems like with Heupel, that jump is even a little bit more than the typical second year quarterback. So, Hooker had a huge jump his second year.
Oh, he did.
But I expect a big jump from Nico because at times you would see throws that were like, okay, this guy's got an elite arm that very few people, even several NFL guys cannot make. And then you would see stuff that, he needed really improvement.
Big jump.
It just seemed like he was, and I think one of the big things he needs to prove on myself is, it seemed like he struggled to throw when his feet wasn't quite set. He was kind of slow to get them set, and so any kind of pressure we struggle with, which that'll go back to the offensive line and all that other stuff, because he needs help. Not just offensive line's got to play better. Wide receiver's got to play better. Everybody's got to play better. Coaches got to play better.
Particularly on this offensive side, I think every grouping we go into, we could talk about the need for a jump in production.
Yeah.
And it's like they were all just off a little bit last year.
Yeah.
But but Nico does need to take that second year jump, like you said. He shows elite traits from time to time. He flashes elite traits.
Yes.
But he's going to have to continue to improve the mental aspects of it, whether it's like you saying he needs to get his feet set better, or just the recognition of the defenses, or, there's so many things, so many bullets are flying at the quarterback spot, not even from the time you snap it, but really from the time you walk up to the line.
Yeah.
And you're trying to recognize so much different things going on.
And, in my opinion, I think, and I think this is what most people would say probably is, once he gets a lot of these other things figured out, he'll have a lot less things to process. And maybe, with less things, quicker processing of this or that, maybe he can focus more on, his feet and stuff like that if he already knows what's coming at him. You know what I mean?
Well, obviously you can't focus on 5 different things at the same time.
Yeah.
It has to narrow down for you eventually.
Right.
Like any job that any of us do every day, when you first start it, it's a struggle. And sometimes a week, sometimes 4 months later, you're looking back saying, how did I struggle with that?
Right.
Yeah. Because it just becomes muscle memory or whatnot to an extent.
Right.
But his backups, Bob, I think we're athletically and talent-wise, I think we're in about as good shape as we could be.
Yeah,
but
we've got to
be. The experience factor, though,
right,
is nil.
Talent-wise, I would say we are top 5 in the country as far as our overall talent group. As far as Nico, Jake Merklinger, which I'm very good quarterback ratings-wise, and I think they're really high on him. And then you bring in a guy who, at the time we got a commitment from him, George McIntyre was like number 2, 3 quarterback in the country, and we bypassed some other guys that I felt like I think Deuce Knight, I felt like we could have got a commitment from him, and he was the top 5 quarterback at the time. And we passed on him, I felt like, because we wanted McIntyre.
Yeah, we
So,
focused in on McIntyre.
So now McIntyre, I think he dropped some his senior year. Now his offensive line looked like trash. So he was running for his life a lot of times. So I wonder if that had anything to do with his drop.
Well, I promise you, stuff like that don't help. But
Yeah.
For the top guys, a lot of times they're being nitpicked in these 11 on 11s, which I think he skipped a couple.
Right.
And then I think a couple he did go to, he didn't have the best of performances. But, you know, that said, I think Merklinger and him both show a really above average arm and above average mobility.
Yes.
And that's a good place to start.
Right.
So that room right there, from athletic point and talent point, I'm extremely happy with. We got a lot to work with going forward.
Yeah.
But every one of them's got to improve. So,
Right.
Which we could probably say that about every group.
Yeah.
Including the next one, tight ends, Bob.
Right. The tight ends groups, you got Ketzelman back, which was the surprise probably of the team last year.
He's right up there.
I mean, he was
Considered the guys will be picked up for depth purposes only.
Yeah.
And really led the room.
Yeah, honestly, when we got him, I felt like he was a guy we would see probably in fourth and 1 type situations or goal line situations.
Extra
Maybe a
blocker.
second blocker in, third blocker sometimes at tight end. But yet, no, we got a lot more out of him than that. Great to have him back because I feel like there's some leadership there. You got Ethan Davis, who we've, pumped up a lot, and a lot of coaches have pumped up over the years.
Big year for Ethan.
Yeah.
This is that year that
This
he
is
needs
that
to
year.
take that jump.
Right. And I feel like a lot of it's physicality with him.
It has been.
He's got to become a better blocker, and that's something.
I thought I saw a big improvement though.
He did. He did have. Yeah, he needs that kind of jump again this
He
year.
does. He had a lot of size, a lot of muscle mass.
Mm-hmm.
Another year of that, and continuing. I like the fact that our tight end coach was a former offensive lineman
Right.
himself. If you'll just listen to him, you will learn how to block.
Right. So I mean, that's a guy who you could see a huge jump from.
Yeah.
And I hope we do.
I think his talent ceiling is NFL.
Right. Yeah. I think he could be a big time kind of guy, like I hate giving comparisons because it's probably a bad comparison, but when I watch him play, I think of Aaron Hernandez type tight end. But then you get I think it's redshirt freshman Cole Harrison, who wasn't really super highly thought of coming out, but we kind of got him late. But I think the coaching staff really high on him from everything I've heard.
A pleasant surprise is generally what I've heard on him. They're looking for him to make that jump his own self from a freshman to a sophomore year. But they really enjoy his tools. Very pleased with him right now in that third spot. I think he'll get some playing time this year.
Right. Behind them was two true freshmen we got in. We signed a very good tight end group last year, headlined by Deshaun Brain. I say it wrong.
You say Braun most of the time, but I believe it is Brain, yes. And don't ever expect me to correct you on the pronunciation again, Bob.
That's right. That's right.
It's not my forte.
Yeah, we're bad on that. Super talented guy. I mean, kind of in that Ethan Davis mold, but I expect something out of him much sooner than what we have out of Davis to this point. But
Actually, I'm not sure I do. I've got a feeling we're going to follow a lot of the same path as Ethan Davis.
Could do it.
But he could surprise me because his talent level is pretty obvious.
Oh, yeah.
Watch him play.
I mean, I watched him in the that Polynesian Bowl. I don't know how many y'all caught that or not, but he had a huge game. I don't have stats right in front of me, but he had several big catches in that game.
He stood out.
Yeah, he stood out. He was in one of the top 2-3 performers for the day in that game. And then you have, and he's in that thinner mode. He's a guy that are going to try to get. I think what's going to hold him back
Same thing that held
weight.
Ethan Davis.
Yeah, weight. He needs to gain some weight.
He looks like a bulky wide receiver.
Yeah,
I
so
think he's got
that move joker tight end type position. And then you have the guy who's the more like a Kitzelman, uh, is Jack Van Dorselaar, I think is how you say his last name.
Oh, I was gonna help you with the first name, but don't expect anything on the second.
Right. The more physical guy, guy we targeted very early last year, got a commitment from him very early, and a very good tight end. I mean, it seems like once a guy commits to us, sometimes their rankings drops a lot of times because when he got
Well,
committed
you can honestly say that about a lot of commitments across the board.
yes,
Early commitments kind of get forgotten by the experts,
right.
and you have a tendency to.
And I wonder sometimes it's part of that, and I think it's part that the rankings people, they're like, uh, they want to build more excitement with these other people moving up. And
It's a good business model.
yeah, and if the guy's committed and he knows where he's going, I have a feeling some of these guys probably don't go to a lot of these camps, and a lot of these guys get, I think, punished for not going to the camps intentionally somewhat.
A good solid prospect that's already committed. We're the click generation coming from in that right there.
Right. And I think it's just these camps also, and I do believe this, they will intentionally push people down because they're like, hey, you want your ranking to go up? You come to our camp. If you don't come to our camp, we're going to push you down whether or not we believe that ranking or not. We're going to try to encourage you to actually show up.
Yeah. And there's been some proof of that in years past. I don't know if they're getting any better on that, but there has been.
And if you know where you're going, why go to them? I mean, maybe there's some things you can learn, but there's all these. I mean, I don't see how these kids afford to do all these unofficial visits and go to all these camps. It would be very expensive.
As a kid, at that age, I didn't have gas money to get across to the other side of town.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
it's like, get your buddies together. Let's get your change. Let's see if we can grab $2 worth of gas,
But the talent level for this group is much higher. Just a lot of it's young.
Got to give the staff credit. They've targeted several really nice looking tight ends thus far, and moving forward, we really seem to be recruiting that position very well.
Yeah.
I've forgotten group sometimes, Bob, that we and a lot of other pundits forget about, skip over special teams. But, we've been pretty good at that for the most part over Heupel's tenure. And, Bob, we really have returning almost everybody.
Yeah, it's not a sexy group, as they say. It's not something people want to, when they start talking about next year, they don't mention special teams very much. But it's a
It could be a game changer. It's like a lot of hidden yardage, as they say,
hidden yardage
in the special teams.
And if you're good at the position, which most people expect you to be good at it, it's great. But when you're bad at it,
well, that's when you notice it.
that's when you notice. It's kind of like offensive line.
Yeah.
They don't get a whole lot of praise, but man, when they don't,
When you get noticed, you get noticed.
you get noticed.
Yeah, for every time you kick that game-winning field goal against Bama, there's the chip shot you miss that people will remember just as much.
Oh yeah, but yeah, we return everybody, and actually, I was looking at that we returned all these guys for the following year. Or should.
Yeah, we're young though.
But yeah, you got Max Gilbert, which had a good year last year. I felt like.
I thought it was a solid first year. I'd give him a B.
Yeah, that's probably what I would rate it at. Wouldn't.
Yeah, could definitely be an A type of guy though moving forward.
Yeah, just a little bit of improvement, and I would be very happy with that. And then you got Jackson Ross, who
seems like he's been there forever, but he's still got a couple years to go.
Yeah, he at times looks fantastic. I think he's, every now and then, it seems like he's getting more and more consistent. When he first started down there, it seemed like it was the beginning of the year too. He has a shank at the beginning of the year.
He has shanked one or two.
And I think it's mainly because he's trying to do the
the
both
rugby
leg
style.
kind of thing.
And, yeah, because he can kick either way. I personally think he does better when he kicks left, but he actually kicks more right-footed than he does
Yeah.
left. Does an excellent job of pinning the ball inside the 10 zone.
Yes. You know, with a little bit more consistently, you're looking at an NFL career with Jackson Ross. And I'm still waiting for a trick play with him because supposedly he has a very strong arm
And he's fast.
and he's fast.
Yeah. And he's big enough to run over somebody if he
Yeah, he's
just
a
had
good,
steam.
sized guy too. So yeah, I fully expect a trick play at some point.
Well, with our special teams coach kind of moving on, and we're bringing a new older man in and elevating a young coach, we might see something out of that.
That's true. That's true. That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
Hey, another big-legged kid down there, our kickoff man. How many times in years past I can remember it seemed like everybody kicking the ball through the end zone, and we couldn't get it to the end zone line. And but Josh Tuberville, Bob, is rare that he don't put it out the back of the end zone.
Yeah, and that's something, like you said, that's underappreciated because we've really lacked that at times down there. We went through a period of time there where we couldn't get one in the end zone.
Yeah, if you got inside the 5, it was like, well, you got to hold it that one. You know,
right. Yeah, like you said, Tuberville, he puts it through the end zone most of the time.
He does, and you know we've done a very good job of covering kicks when it don't go down.
Yeah.
But I'd be much happier just say, hey, start it at 25 and see if you can move it 75 yards on us.
Right.
Nothing worse than holding your breath on a kickoff return for the other team.
Yeah.
You know, a return specialist, Bob. I mean, I think it starts and stops basically with our Boo Carter.
Yeah. I think he's the guy who's you're always looking for that guy who's a game breaker, who can, you know, do we have one? And I think Boo Carter is that kind of guy. And he showed flashes last year of being a game breaker to a position. And I think I think you're just going to see improvement from him. We have super high hopes out of Boo Carter this year.
Well, you do, and of course that's at the punt returning position.
Right. Right.
We don't generally return a lot of kickoffs.
Right.
We between the just letting it go out of the end zone, but we might see a little bit of change once again with the new coaching staff on that special teams side of it. Of course, you never know when Heupel might be the guy telling them, this is what we're doing.
Right.
So
yeah.
But last year we had Peyton Lewis doing it, Deshaun Bishop. Some. I wouldn't expect either one of those guys really returning kicks this year because they could both be our starting running back.
Right.
So, but we've got a lot of speedy, talented guys on the team. I'm not concerned with that much. We don't hardly even return kick.
Yeah, to me that's where you're least concerned because, like you said, you don't get a whole lot of opportunities. Number one, and we've increased our talent level, and that's where your really talented guys. There's always going to be somebody that can return kicks.
I wonder if we don't see a change just like the NFL did on kickoffs to do something different. I'm not saying we're going to copy what the NFL does. It could very well be just knocking it back another 5 yards so you make it a part of the game again.
Yeah.
But currently, the kickoff returns is becoming a necessary part of the game because it's just not used. I mean, 90% of kickoffs anymore seem like go through the end zone.
Right.
So,
yeah, it's hard to say what they'll do with that. They may keep it like it is now just for a time thing.
Nothing's going to change this year, obviously.
Right.
We'd already heard about it,
Right.
but I wonder moving forward.
Right. I agree.
But wrapping it up, Bob, on these 3 position groups, love the talent level.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, when you start looking at the quarterbacks and tight ends, 2 of the most talented positions on our team and in the country, honestly. You got to love the talent level. And, man, I tell you what, this spring.
It's a big spring for these guys.
Big spring for a lot of people. But on the plus side, talent.
Yeah. Yeah, at least you have that to fall back on. We just have to coach them up. That's what they say, right? Got to coach them up.
Coach them up.
Got to be coachable. Right. Guys, thanks for joining us again. If you're not already subscribed, please hit that button. get us up to 1,000. We'd appreciate that tremendously.
Yeah.
Give us a like and share it with a friend.
Yeah.
Guys, let's watch. I'm ready for spring ball. So go Big Orange.
Go Vols.